How's everybody doing today? Today I just wanted to do our second video on arrays, and what we're going to get into is multi-dimensional arrays. Let's say you just had a table of data like this. I've got first name, last name, phone number, so it's almost representing a a table you might find in a database. So I decide I want to take this information and load it into an array. Since I've got multiple rows and multiple columns in this case, it's going to be a multi-dimensional array. First thing I need to do is count up how many rows and columns I need. So this has got 4 different rows and it's got 3 different columns. So when I size this array, it's going to be a 4 by 3 array. But like everything else in programming, it starts at 0, the indices. So my first row and first column isn't going to be labeled 1, 1. It's going to be labeled 0, 0. If you want to see the corresponding indice for each piece of data, it's over here. For example, the name White, that's in row 2, column 1. So that's the indice that would be associated with White. The phone number, 5639811. That's in row 3, column 2, so that would be the indice. So when we go to build this array in Visual Basic, these are some of the things you'll want to know. I'm going to go into a Visual Basic program. This is called CArray2D. So here is the line of code that I can use to define this array. String, I just called this one phone book. Notice I've got a comma between my square brackets. The comma indicates that it is a multi-dimensional array. Called it phone book, new string, and then I indicated size, 4, 3, because again I had 4 rows and I had 3 columns. Now I'm just going to load the array. Now you might remember from our previous video, you can load an array individually or you can load it implicitly with a list, and I do show you both ways here. So this is how I could load it individually. Phone book 00 is Chris. Phone book 01 is Ford, etc. I go through all the indices. If I wanted to load this with an implicit list, I do string. I make sure my comma's here. I do phone book, and I just load it. It's the same data up here, except now it's just in an implicit list. There's a couple things you really have to watch out for. You do need beginning bracket and you do need an ending bracket. Each of your individual rows has a beginning bracket and an ending bracket. Each item in your rows needs a comma, and you need a comma between each row. And you have to finish off the whole thing with a semicolon. So there's an awful lot of syntax to this, but it's like anything. Once you do it 2 or 3 times, it becomes second nature. What I did in this case, I loaded this array individually. I loaded this one implicitly with a list, but I also added a couple input boxes to each. So they ask you to enter row and enter column. And then I just wanted to show you that regardless of whether you load it individually or you load it implicitly, it's going to create the same array. It's going to give you the same data. Alright, let's say I want to run this thing, so I'm going to go ahead and run it. So this is the button that loads it individually. It asks me for a row. I'll say row 2, column 1, and that gives me the name White, which matches what I have up here. If I hit my other button, remember this is going to load it with my list. I'm going to do the same thing, row 2, column 1, and I get the same answer. But anyhow, that's just how you can deal with a 2-dimensional array, and you can load it implicitly or you can load it individually. Hopefully this was helpful. We'll see you next time.